Rattlers, if I may have your attention, uh, y'all making me to start late. You know I always start on time. The man of the hour has arrived. He called me right before the game, and he didn't call the second half. Yeah, I only gave him a couple of pieces of advice. He wanted to start somebody named Jonathan Robinson for the kickoff, and I said, "No, you need to start Marcus for that." Yeah, and after that, I told him he was on his own. Um, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah. I always pick the winners. No, I didn't. I didn't. My phone wasn't working the second half. I couldn't have talked. But I kind of like the second half for a reason or two. But y'all have to know a lot about football to understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember, stood them lights out. Young ladies faint right before halftime. We're going to get started as usual with our illustrious president of the FAMU Boosters. I know you. I knew your name one time, Mr. Selvin Carr.
Okay, Mr. Jackson. Hello, everyone. I hadn't had an opportunity to speak to. Rattler Boosters support all sports. So I'm going to start off with cross country. This is women's cross country season. They had their first meet in Jacksonville. They got rained out. So they have yet to compete for the season. The golf team, believe it or not, the golf team had their first golf tournament in Michigan. They finished 18th out of 18. So tough competition in Michigan. Their next golf tournament is going to be the 25th and the 26th of September. Men's golf. We don't have a women's golf team yet. Yeah. Put a pin in that one. The volleyball. Volleyball is always, we always have a real tough schedule at the beginning of the season. Play a lot of out-of-conference games to get in shape for the conference. Currently, our volleyball team is 1-5. We beat the University of Northern Arizona. We dropped matches at UAB in Birmingham, and we also dropped a match over in Jacksonville last weekend. The very first volleyball match is going to be tomorrow at 6 o'clock in Gaitham. So I'm going to ask all of you all to come out and let's cheer our volleyball team, our SWAC back-to-back championship volleyball team. So we want to come out tomorrow and cheer them on to victory. 6 o'clock tomorrow at Gaither Gym, playing the University of South Alabama. I knew somebody was going to ask that. Okay, last but not least, I want to thank you all for the kickoff luncheon. It was a huge success. And we've done our after action report, and we know that it took too long for everybody to eat. We never thought that it would take that long for, I guess we should have, but we needed more than 2 serving lines. So next year there will be more than 2 serving lines. But I want to thank you all for your participation. We made some money, and so again, thank you for coming out. The last thing that I have is we're already getting ready for the Florida Classic. The Rattler Boosters have a table for the Florida Classic luncheon. Now, if you haven't been to the Florida Classic luncheon, I think it's a good event. You will see the president in a whole different mode. You think he's Chris Rock. He bring out that Chris Rock performance at the Florida Classic. This is when the both of the teams will be there, and alumni from both of the schools. It's just a great event. Again, this year we will have a table. We probably going to do 2, maybe 3 tables this year. It's $100 fee. It starts at 11:30, ends at 2 o'clock. It's going to be at the host hotel, and we're the host team this year. So they're going to be at the Hyatt Grand Cypress. So if you want to reserve your seat at the Florida Classic luncheon, see me, and I can accommodate you. So again, thank you all for all that you do to invest in our student athletes. It's very much appreciated. Again, for those folk that's online, that's FAMURattlerBoosters.com. You want to go there and you want to make your donations, join the Rattler Boosters membership. There are 3 levels. If you're a student, it's $50. If you want to pay annual dues, it's $100. If you want to be a Venom member, it's $300. And if you want to be a lifetime member, it's $750. Now, you don't have to pay the $750 all at one time. You could pay $250 a year. And at the end of 3 years, you will be a life member. So let me thank you all now for what you're going to do for us. Wilbur Johnson, I had to think of your name. Oh, yes, Wilbur is correct. We had a record crowd at the kickoff. We set out 100 tables. It's never been done before. Dr. Kavanaugh didn't think that we could do it, but we did it. Also, you got a chance to look at the video board. I don't say scoreboards anymore because we got video boards now at Gaither and at Bragg when we go out there on the 16th, and at the Lawson Center. And if they had followed Wilbur's directions, you would have been able to watch the video board on the during the program. But they were a little late, and I think the gentleman, by the time Vaughn got there, he'd already gone. But again, I'd just like to thank you all. And Vaughn did a great job. I'm sure some of you folk who are out there listening are watching us now today. You got a chance to see it. Vaughn Megace and his group did a great job of bringing that to you. So again, thanks for all that you do and investing in our student athletes. Yes.
Let me ask you, how do y'all do your advertisement as far as when you put out the notice for that kickoff? Because I talked with several people and they didn't know about it until after the fact. And because a lot of people don't listen to 96.1. A lot of people don't listen to 94.5. Some listen to the gospel station.
Okay.
And they didn't hear about it till after the fact. They may have gotten some more sales if they do better advertising.
Okay. The question was, how did the Rattler Boosters advertise the kickoff luncheon? And the answer is, we advertise it basically word of mouth. We advertise it via social media. And one of the things that we're finding out is everybody don't do Facebook. Everybody don't do Instagram. I mean, not say everybody, a lot of our folk, our audience is not in the Facebook. And I don't think, Eddie, do you have a Twitter account? Eddie's one of the only few people, folk of his age with a Twitter account. So I won't even ask it about Instagram. Oh, I'm sorry. But I haven't moved over to X. I still got Twitter. Okay. Yeah. Right. We did. I'm being reminded by Dr. Walker that we put 100 tables out. We had people sitting to 100 tables. And if you didn't see somebody there, it just meant that they bought the table and we set it up for them. They didn't show up. But we had it was a great success. And thanks again. I can't thank you all enough. I thought I did when I said, this is how we did it. We put it on social media. And that's what I was saying. A lot of folk our age don't do social media. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Oh.
Do we have the number of people that attended the Florida Classic? What was the Orange Box? I'm sorry. Orange Box. Do we have a number of?
I think you're for total game attendance. Okay. I haven't seen one yet. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know, maybe Gerald or St. Clair. I don't know if you're 25. Okay. Coach says about 25,000. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Selvin. Vaughn, don't tell Selvin I told you this. But when he got your check, he said, "Oh, I thought Vaughn was going to charge a lot more than this." So you might want to keep that in mind next year. I didn't tell him that, Selvin. One quick story before Coach comes up about, I told y'all about our need to do more for Althea Gibson and women's sports last year, and the response so far has been really fantastic. And I just wanted to tell me a little story, Coach Hansel Tooks, who's our golf coach. And when Althea Gibson came here, we didn't have a tennis team, but we had a golf team. She played basketball her freshman year and led the Rattlers women team to the SIAC champion. But she took a golf course from Hansel Tooks, and Hansel Tooks said he took out on the golf course to give her some pointers, and she beat him in the match. So he just gave her an A and let her go after that. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about FAMU and Jackson State. Never bothered me much. Gerald pointed out in his story about the importance and significance of the game, and I think it was important. But I have never seen a Rattler team like those Rattlers in the first half. I mean, that was incredible, Coach. I take that back. My little league team in St. Petersburg. Yeah, they had a first half like that. Yeah. No, I was coach. I was the coach. Yes. I heard about that too. And she wasn't supposed to go in Sampson Hall. Yeah. She was the kind of disciplinary problem early on. And somebody got real smart and put her in charge of the student disciplinary team, and they didn't have any more problems. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, and now, the head coach of the FAMU Rattlers, Coach Willie Simmons.
Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate everything. Aside from leaving me at halftime, that wasn't very nice to figure the game was out of reach. You just decided to go party with the regular folk, huh? Next time, stay for 4 quarters, and I want to come up here and answer questions about a scoreless second half. But no, very excited to be here, and obviously wanted to start the season off the right way. Haven't been 1-0 since 2018, our first year, and so really meant a lot to our team to go down to Miami Gardens and take care of business. You know, I said it the whole time. We were on a different mindset the entire trip. It was all business. You know, no beach runs, no hanging out. Other than the dinner that we did with both teams, we didn't leave the hotel. We did take the guys to a movie on Saturday just to kind of get them out the hotel a little bit, but nothing outside of team coordinated activities, and it showed. So all three phases, the first half were just completely dominant. Obviously started the season, first time in my coaching career to start the season off with a kickoff return for a touchdown. My very own Marcus Riley, who was a huge addition for us, went 96 yards in 11 seconds. And so if anybody knows, that's really, really fast. And so once he got through the first level on about the minus 30, I knew that he was going the distance because, again, nobody's going to catch Marcus. He's just that fast. But then the defense had a huge stand, you know, gave up a big ball on the first play, and then had a big-time stand down in the red zone, and they botched the field goal, which we recovered. And then, obviously, from that, we were able to march it down and score a touchdown, kicked it off in great coverage. I think made them have a 3-and-out, and then actually got a turnover. I think we got a turnover, got it back on the short field, scored again. So about 8 minutes in the first quarter, it was 21-0 already. And that was, again, the start to a complete domination of Jackson State. And, you know, good football team. They're a talented team. But, again, I've said it all along. This team that we have has a chance to be special, and they showed that in spurts this past weekend. So, obviously, going in 28-0 at halftime, you know, I tried to do my best Jake Gaither impression and gave him all the speeches about killing a mosquito with an axe and keep your feet on the neck, all that stuff. But, you know, just this generation of guys is just, it's hard to keep them motivated when, and I think the biggest thing, it didn't take very long for our guys to realize that, you know, we were the superior team and that really they didn't have an answer for us on offense. Defensively, they were kind of reeling. The things that we were doing, they really didn't have an answer for. And then obviously anytime they kicked the ball and it landed in the hands of number 10 and number 4, they were in trouble, you know. So our guys kind of sensed that. And, you know, we made some, it really wasn't a matter of us playing poorly the second half. We just had some uncharacteristic mistakes that occurred. And the fact that 2 touchdowns got taken off the board because of penalties, you know, then you look up and you say, oh, we didn't score the second half. Well, Jamarier went 59 yards for a touchdown on a holding call that I'm still trying to find the hold. And we scored on the going in towards the band that they called a legal formation, which they're calling our tackles. They're saying our tackles are too far in the backfield and not on the line of scrimmage. Okay, so may need to get you to come to practice tomorrow and make sure you check the line to make sure they're lining up properly. And so we don't get touchdowns taken off the board. You know, when you get 14 points pulled off the board, that really stings. And then, you know, the biggest thing we had to fix was obviously the field goals. They had 2 field goals blocked. Definitely had to address that, and we addressed that schematically and with personnel. So don't think we'll have those issues again. But everything else, I mean, offensively, personnel, yeah. That means get some guys out, put some other guys in. Eddie knows all about that, right? Changing personnel. Some of y'all aren't doing jobs you used to do with Eddie because he had to make some changes. But no, you know, so the offensively, you know, we all knew that coming into the season, running the football was a heavy emphasis for us, and we were able to run for 207 yards. You know, and like I said, the not scoring the second half, obviously that's disappointing. But the last drive, they moved the ball and they fumbled on the 10 or 11, whatever yard line, and we got it back. When we got the ball back, it was 7 minutes and 34 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter. We didn't throw a pass, and they didn't touch the ball again. So we ran the clock out from the -10 and got down to the +2 with all run plays. And so just the fact that we were able to establish the run when the other team knew we weren't going to throw it. We're up by that many points. You're not going to throw the ball. You're going to keep the clock running. And they couldn't stop us. They couldn't stop us running the ball. So that was very encouraging to see. Our offensive line did a really, really good job of creating what we call a new line of scrimmage, which means knocking those defensive linemen off the ball. A lot of times, Yant and Terrell and Wu didn't make first contact until they were 3-4 yards downfield. And that's really encouraging. So Jaquez and Terrell both averaged right at 6 yards per carry, which is very, very good. Again, 207 yards. I think we only passed that one time last year. That was homecoming against Pine Bluff. And so really, really ran the ball well. And, Jeremy had some moments where we missed some throws, and I don't worry about that because he doesn't miss those throws consistently. That's just one of those games where, adrenaline pumping and, you and guys are running wide open. Sometimes the hardest throw, Eddie knows this as an elite quarterback. When you're an elite quarterback, the hardest throw to make is a wide open receiver. Just like, Tommy and some of the basketball players can tell you, sometimes when you catch a ball at the 3-point line and you're wide open and you take that little rhythm bounce, you miss the shot because now you're thinking about it. You're so wide open, you want to make it instead of just doing it in rhythm. A lot of times it's a lot easier. So, just got to get Jeremy to make what we call the layups. Don't miss those. Don't try to be perfect. If you underthrow him a little bit, that's fine. Everybody wants to hit the guy in stride and he marches to the end zone. But even if I got to pull him up, he catches it and he runs and gets caught like K-Dot did later on in the game, you would prefer that to an overthrow. And so, but he recognized that right away and didn't have to talk to him much about that, when we watched the film. So that'll get fixed. But if we can keep running the ball well, we'll be a very, very lethal offense. Again, we protected the ball, we didn't fumble it, and that's the big thing. And so really played a solid game on offense. Defensively, again, I can't say much, those guys played as well as I thought they would play. And aside from the one long touchdown we gave up there late, which, again, that was more on, I believe, on us as a coaching staff to have us in that position. They really couldn't move the ball consistently. They were down 28-3 in the fourth quarter. So naturally, they got to try to manufacture big plays right away. So instead of pressing on that particular play, maybe we back the cornerback off and force them to throw a hitch route or a slant or a curl or something underneath, go tackle it, as opposed to making it a foot race with their fastest player against one of our guys that, he's not one of our fastest players. And so they scored on that big touchdown. But other than that one long play, we played tremendous defense. They only had 72 yards rushing. And a lot of that was the quarterback scrambling there late. They got into some wildcat stuff and let the quarterback run some things. But aside from that, we really stuffed them. And then special teams, aside from the 2 block field goals, was unbelievable as well. Kickoff return for a touchdown, another long return by Marcus, 2 explosive returns by K-Dot at punt return. Jamaria had 190 all-purpose yards. That's receiving and returning. Marcus had 125 all-purpose yards. And so, again, just a complete game top to bottom and, very excited about the win. So, I'll definitely answer questions about Sunday's game, but obviously we're getting ready to head down to Tampa to take on South Florida this weekend. And, they're a team that, they lost their first game to Western Kentucky in a high-scoring game. They gave up 41 points, scored 24, but they ran 95 plays on offense. And so with the new clock rules, the conventional wisdom said that it will be about a 7 to 8 play difference per game for offensive plays run, for the fact that the clock doesn't stop on first downs anymore. And they still ran 95 plays. We ran 69 in our game on Sunday. They ran 95. And so that's a lot of plays to try to defend for a defense. So we'll have our hands full trying to get lined up against them. They're up-tempo offense. You will not see a team play as fast as this team will play on Saturday. If any of you remember going down to the Orlando in 2019 to play Central Florida, it's going to be the same type of offense. Now, I don't think it's the same type of talent level. That team had just beat LSU in the bowl game and end up going, I think, 13-1 that season. So I don't think it's the same caliber of talent. We're definitely not the same team we were in 2019. We're a lot better as well. But as far as tempo, you look up, they're going to be playing at a rapid pace. And so we got to get ready to get lined up on defense and try to contain them. They have a quarterback that ran for 160 yards last week and threw for another 160. So he's a true dual threat guy. Best quarterback we've seen since Eddie Jackson. So it's gonna be definitely a test for us. A lot bigger than Eddie. He's about 6'3", but a dual threat guy to the truest sense. So whenever you have a quarterback that can run the ball, it definitely creates another issue for our defense because you got to account for him in the run game. And so we got our hands full, and then defensively, they're all over the place. A lot of different looks up front, a lot of different coverages, a lot of different pressures, just really trying to confuse the offense. So the key for us is going to be communication, making sure that we get a hat on a hat, and then we got to throw and catch. We definitely got to run the football, but when it's time to throw and catch, we got to throw and catch. They have long defensive backs. Their left corner is 6'3", transferred from Nebraska, kid out of Orlando. Their right corner is about 6 foot. They got a 6'2" corner, 6'2" safeties. So they're really, really long. So again, it'll be a great challenge for this football team. We'll be the underdog on paper. This will probably be the only game left on our schedule where we'll be the underdog. But again, we're going down there to win the game. We're going to go down there and play Rattler style of football. If we can match the intensity, the execution that we had in the first half, I really like our chances against this team. And but again, looking forward to your support. Obviously going down there, we're trying to, like I told the team on Monday, we're not trying to make history. That's been done. Jake Gaither did this over 50 years ago when he went down and beat the University of Tampa in Tampa. And so we're trying to be a part of history as opposed to making history. And thankful to Vaughn, we'll be blessed to hear from actually Steve Scruggs on Friday, who was the quarterback of that 69 team that beat the University of Tampa. So he's going to come and talk to the team, just kind of talk to them about his experience going down there during that time. And hopefully that'll give us a little mojo as we go down there and try to, again, shock the world and come away with a big win over an PWI opponent. So, but again, great week of preparation. Been a short week. We got back about around midnight on Sunday night, and guys rested up a little bit and got right back at it on Monday. And so we're rolling, and we'll be taking off here Friday, headed down to Tampa. But I'm definitely looking forward to a great matchup. So definitely appreciate your support, all you that were able to make it to Miami, and but look forward to seeing you go down to Tampa. So definitely want to open up the floor to questions, and we'll get Dr. Walker. Okay. About repeating questions, Eddie, repeat the questions when people online. I just got the mic, so they ain't been killing us from what I've been doing. The game is televised, so it's ESPN Plus. That's of course streamed, and I cannot remember the other network, but I'll get the information to Eddie and Selvin. But it is ESPN Plus, which is, if you have internet, you go through the ESPN's website to down. Yes, you can look at it on computer, or you can. Eddie will show you how to connect it to your TV. You can actually stream it; it'll go up to your TV. Yeah, so Eddie, a tutorial for streaming to the big TV from your app, from your laptop. Yeah, Well, I thought about having Eddie come down and play, but last time we were there, we had a lot of people said they told Eddie don't come back to Tampa. They don't want to see his face, so there's gonna be some bad things happen to him if he shows back. I think he owes some people some money or something like that, but nah, he ain't gonna get on that field. Nah, they're looking for him. Yeah, boss. Well, so with the run game, yeah. So the question was, with our running game being as efficient as it was last week, do I foresee us running more than we passed this year? Well, again, that's hard to determine. It's game to game, and so a game like this, conventional wisdom says find a way to keep their offense off the field. And so again, no matter how good a defense is, when you're on the field for close to 100 plays, you're going to eventually break. And so the goal for us is to control the ball on offense, to convert third downs, and again, if we can keep the ball in our hands and out of theirs, that definitely limits their opportunities to score points. And so, yes, running the football definitely does help that. So we can establish the run and be efficient running the ball. I think it helps us all year long. Now, does that mean we'll go into every game saying we're going to run it 60% and throw it 40? It's not what that means. A lot of our plays, again, have pass options on them. So even though it's a run play, the quarterback does have the option to throw the ball if the look dictates it. So when you're good at running the ball, typically teams want to try to stop it at some point, which means getting more guys near the box. Well, once you do that, now you're going one-on-one with Marcus Riley on the outside. You're going one-on-one with Jamari Shareed on the outside. Once David Manigo gets back, going one-on-one with him. So I think that'll open up things for us in the passing game, the more we're able to run the ball well. So if we can continue to do it, I think, again, it makes us almost indefensible because we know we can throw the ball. We missed some throws Sunday, but we showed last year that we can throw the ball extremely well, and we'll continue to do so. So hopefully we can continue to be dominant in the run game as well and be a really balanced offense. You use the weight a little bit later. This must be a...
But Sunday, first half, okay, we got to win. 28 points is not that much. Halftime, you can't relax. We had this conversation last year. You cannot relax after halftime. They get too complacent and they just fall back. And if they are 100 points ahead, 28 points is not that much. You got 2 whole quarters to play. They were only down 18 points. You can get a turnover, you can get a interception, whatever, and come back on you. They got to keep that same momentum that they start out with. They got to play all 4 quarters. The game is not over until the last 0 on their clock.
Amen. Amen. And so the second half, got to play 4 quarters. And so again, like I said, the score obviously dictates that we didn't play as well the second half as we did the first half. Statistically, though, we moved the ball extremely well the second half. I mean, we got down inside the red zone a couple of times. We had a penalty that backed us up, and then got a field goal block. We got down there again, and I can't remember what happened the next time we got down there. Ended up going backwards. So the biggest thing was more. It wasn't the physical effort. It was really more so mental focus, because a false start, like we false started on a play that there is no play. Like literally, the play is freeze. We're gonna draw them off sides. You don't have a play to run. Like there's nowhere to go. You don't know who to block, what to do, why you jumping, why you false starting. So we false started on that. Again, got a touchdown call back for a holding. Got another touchdown call back for a illegal formation, so to speak. And so after the touchdown from the illegal formation, so it was second and goal at the 3. We get the penalty call for illegal formation. Backs us up to 2nd and 8. The next snap, we get a false start. So now we're 2nd and 13, really 2nd and goal, because now you got to score. You can't get a first down anymore so now we're 2nd and goal, and then we give up the sack on 3rd down. And so now we back up and we get the field goal block. So just if we, again, connect on one of the balls that we overthrew, we get the touchdown, not called for a penalty. Jamarie's long touchdown for the holding call, which we're still trying to see what the holding call was. That's 21 points, and now it's 49 to 10, and now we're talking about a blowout. So, again, I'm a perfectionist, so for me, it's always about playing 4 quarters and doing things the right way throughout. But I don't want the narrative to be, well, fam, you didn't play 4 quarters of football, because defensively we did. We gave up 1 play. They threw a deep ball against press man coverage. The guy's faster than the receiver's faster than our cornerback. He called it, he scored. Like, other than that, they did not consistently move the ball on us the entire game. So defense played 4 quarters. Special teams, aside from 2 blocked field goals, played 4 quarters. Offensively, we didn't lock in mentally to not have penalties. And then we start chirping and going back and forth with their players. And so we end up getting, I think, a unsportsmanlike. And then we just kind of started doing some uncharacteristic stuff. So we just got to make sure that we lock in for 4 quarters. The intensity stayed, but mentally we got to stay locked in too. And that's really the biggest thing. It's just the mental part of it to get locked in. So other than that, I mean, I'm pleased with how the guys perform.
Just for a point of information, if you are going to the Tampa game this weekend, there is a link. I think that I got it through the Family Boosters that you can purchase tickets for that game through the Tampa Alumni Chapter, and they get a part of that donation. So that's just a point of information. Now, Coach, I don't have a question. I have praise. Anytime we win a game, I'm happy. I don't care if you win by a point or 40 points, but if you bring a victory back here to me, man, I'm happy. So all I gotta say is thank you, Rap.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Especially conference win. The conference win is a lot better. Tommy? Seven minutes and 34 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really telling, and so that was my funny moment during the game. So the statement was the most impressive thing was the last drive of getting the ball with the 7 minutes and 30 seconds left and running the clock out. So that really was impressive. But the funny thing was we were probably, of course, we started backed up on the minus 10. So of course with the coaches' boxes, I can't go past the 20. And then once the ball gets kind of past me, I stand behind so he can see me signal, call plays. So we were right around the 50-yard line. And Yant had just had that run where he got hit at the 1 yard past the line of scrimmage and drug 8 guys another 12 yards. And so after that run, we gave it to him again, and he got about 7 or 8 more yards and drug a couple of guys and got tackled. And one of Jackson State's players got up and looked right at me and said, "Coach, where y'all get him from?" So, he ain't normal. And so that was pretty telling. That trust me, you do not want to tackle 6'2", 240 in the 4th quarter over and over and over again. So just him, and then Terrell. I thought Terrell played as well as I've seen him play. I was really, really happy for Terrell. He's the only returning guy coming from the backfield. Had gotten really demoted to 3rd running back going into the game, but came in and had a phenomenal game. Just ran decisive, ran with great intention, and was just a dynamic football player. So we can keep that 3-headed monster rolling with Yant and Dean and Terrell Jennings. That's going to make for a very, very, very balanced rushing attack that's going to definitely give people fits. Injury-wise, we actually came out of the game pretty well. Jalen Goss was a game-time decision, and he decided to go. So we played Jalen probably about 3 or 4 series, and he didn't have any major setbacks from it. And so he's progressing well. David Manigo missed the game, and he'll miss this week's as well, recovering from his hand. But other than that, we had a couple guys go down with cramps from heat, just heat exhaustion. And again, the more you play yourself into shape, it's one thing to go through a 2-hour practice, but it's another thing to go through a 3.5-hour football game. So, the more they get used to playing, this week's game is at 7 p.m., so we shouldn't have the same type of issues as far as heat. But other than the cramping, I think we had 3 or 4 guys cramp. We actually came out of the game really, really healthy, which is, that's pretty abnormal. This was probably the shortest injury report list that we got that next day than I've ever had. It was like 2 or 3 names, and a couple of guys banged their shoulder up a little bit, but that's to be expected. But other than that, we're really, really healthy, and that bodes well going into this weekend's game. Boss man want to know where I got the running back from? Well, yeah. So no, but Yant's from Tallahassee. He's from here. He played high school football at Godby. Yes. Yeah, that's the one that went to Nebraska. He played at Godby. He was a big high school running back. I mean, I don't know how much he weighed when he got to Nebraska, but obviously got there and started eating that corn and wheat and put on some pounds. And so he reported about 240, about 246. Jaquez Yant. Yeah, he got here about 246, and we got him down. He's about 235 now, but I mean, you see him, he looks like a defensive end, tight end. I mean, he's a big human being, and but really good feet and good speed. He's a good football player.
They blocked and they tried all the 10 to make a pass. And every time you get 4, 5 yards, and you control the ball, like you said, about 7 minutes in the game, so they could do anything about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought the offensive line played as well as they played. They were aggressive. They communicated well. I mean, they played with an edge. I mean, now Cardell he teeters right on the edge of getting a penalty. So we got to make sure we keep him right there. But I mean, because the official told me, he was like, Coach, I could have called about 3 or 4 penalties on him. And because he's going to do a little bit extra every play. But I mean, he loves the game. He's physical. TJ Lee's physical. Ashton Gray. I mean, we have some physical offensive linemen. And just to have that strength between the 2 guards and the center, that allows you that vertical push you need in the run game. So as long as those guys continue to play at a high level, I think we're going to be able to run the ball really well. Physical offensive line, big, strong, downhill running backs. Again, and we've kind of changed. We're not an East and West run team anymore. We're right down the middle. So it's hopefully we can keep that up this week.
Talking about the Jackson State game, he said, my son was out there, I bought some pizza wings, and he thought he said, Dad, I'm leaving at halftime. He's like, I got all these pizza wings. He said, Dad, we gonna take care of this meat. He said 11 at halftime and went back on campus.
Yeah, no, I mean those guys are locked in, man. I tell you what, the focus that the team had, you could just see it. You saw it in pregame. You saw it around the hotel. You saw it at practices when we practiced down there for the practice we had on Friday, and then the walkthrough. Just again, it's a veteran group. Like I said, 24 of those. We took 80 players. 24 of them are college graduates already. I mean, they already had their college degree, so they're in their 5th or 6th year of college. And so we call when we eat as a team. As it gets closer to game time, we call the classes. We call them by classes to go eat. So the captains will get up first, and then the graduates, then the seniors, the juniors, the sophomores, the freshmen. Well, by the time I got the sophomores, like 3 guys stood up, and then the freshmen, 2 guys stood up. I was like, oh my goodness, we gonna need some Bengay. This is the geriatric football team right here. But we are an older football team. I mean, like I said, you're talking about 24 guys who've been in college at least 5 years. I mean, you think about how much veteran leadership you have, how much experience you have, and that shows. So it bodes really well. And again, I think this team, again, if we can just stay grounded and not get, like I told them on Monday, now the pats on the back start. Now the good jobs, all those things start. We got to just stay focused. We got to stay locked in on what the task is, and that's how hard we work every day and the commitment to excellence that we have. And this team has a chance to be truly special. Yes, sir.
Speaking of TJ Lee, I had him sign my post kickoff lunch, and I looked at his dad. I said, "This signature is going to be worth some money on Sunday." But anyway, good. leaders that are kind of emerging and showing up. And what you said a while ago was that the veterans seem to have a team of leaders coming into this season. So, are there any individual leaders that seem to be emerging defensively and offense?
Yeah. So as far as leadership, and the question was, has any leaders emerged from the transition from training camp to the season? And so what we've done, and we do it every year, but we have what we call a leadership council. So it's kind of like our Senate, so it's a group of players, 11 players who I meet with, and we discuss the team, the temperament, if there are any major disciplinary issues that need to take place, whatever the case is, I address it with those guys. They're the representatives of the football team. Well, what we did differently this year than in years past, in the past, I selected the leadership council. I kind of looked at who I felt was a good leader, who the guys respected, and I put those guys on the leadership council. A lot of them were seniors, obviously. There were some underclassmen kind of sprinkled in because I wanted every class to be represented. So I would pick one true freshman, I would pick one redshirt freshman, one transfer, and then the rest of the guys would be older guys. Well, this year I did it differently. I selected 2 guys off the team that I know are leaders because the team already voted them leaders. And I said, you guys pick the leadership council. And they selected the members. And so because the players know who are the leaders better than we do. And so when we selected that council, they selected that council, I set the standard. I said, hey, this is what I would like this team to look like. They enforce it. So disciplinary issues don't come to me. They go to the leadership council. So if a player misses study table, if he shows up late to weights, if he misses class, the leadership council deals with it. We had one incident down in Miami, nothing major, but just because we were on business, well, one of the guys, probably was a guy that would have been one of Eddie's buddies growing up, decided to just walk across the street and didn't do anything. He went across the street. He was at the beach. He took a picture of some guys on some ATVs, and he came back to the room. Well, the leadership council didn't take too kindly to that because the mandate was we don't leave the hotel. And so they made a decision about his fate for that game. And I told him, he came to me like, I said, it's out of my hands. I don't have anything to do with the decision. Your peers will decide your fate. And I think that's when the team gets stronger, because if I'm the only voice they're listening to, it's not going to work, right? If the coaches are the only voices, it's not going to work. Now, Moose has a powerful voice on this football team. Isaiah Major, Stanley Mentor, Jalen Goss, Javen Morgan, Kendall Bowler, Stanley Mentor. Those guys have that resounding voice that when they speak, the players listen. And so they know who's doing what they're supposed to do. And I think that's the biggest difference. And so a lot of those guys have kind of emerged and stepped up, whereas naturally it's always going to probably be the quarterback and a guy, the middle linebacker. Whereas on past teams, we've had really good individual leaders. Ryan Stanley was a leader on this football team. Elijah Richardson was one of the best leaders that I've ever been around. You're talking about a guy in this day and age who will really challenge one of his teammates. Like I try to get Elijah to come speak to the team while we were down there because he's down in Fort Pierce. He wasn't able to do so, but he was like that true old school leader that, would jack you up if you didn't listen to him. Isaiah Land, Xavier Smith, so we had some good individual leaders, but I don't think we've ever had the group of leaders that we have now. And I think that's the biggest difference, is that those guys are committed to really taking this program where it needs to be. And I think that's a great thing to see. Yeah. Well, the thing is, talking about the discipline, I mean, peer pressure is still the greatest form of influence. And so this generation is just a little more apprehensive to challenge their peers, a lot more so than we were. Back we were, and I say we, I'm in a generation after you guys, but so it was a lot more when you guys were growing up. It was, Jake didn't play the radio, so the things that I hear about from the former players, Ray Matthews, and the things that those guys went through, I'd have been fired 6 years ago. if we did any of those things, if I allowed any of those things to take place, they would already ran me out of town. So it's a lot. This generation is more about getting along. They want to be liked. They want to be, cool and popular. And so leaders aren't always liked. Like at the end of the day, I tell my assistant coaches, everybody wants to be a head coach. They all, aspire to be head coaches. Well, head coaches are the loneliest people on the planet. We don't have any friends. Like I eat with Ray every day because none of the other coaches go eat with me. Like they don't. Aside from Ray and Troy, who aren't on the coaching staff, none of the other coaches will eat with me because again, you're trying to get as far away from your boss as you can, right? And so it's just a different type of mentality. Whereas now it's harder for guys to really hold their teammates accountable. And that's nationwide. If you talk to Nick Saban, he'll say the same thing. You talk to Mike Norvell, Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, they'll all say the same thing. It's really, really tough to develop genuine leadership in today's society. And so what we have, I think, is special because those guys have really committed themselves to upholding our standard that we set for ourselves.
Online, John Williams says, love seeing Musa run a little bit. In observing the team last year, it looked like the lanes were there for him to run.
So, Moose obviously has evolved as a quarterback. He's a lot, he's a year older. He's more familiar with the system now. And, he understands the opportunities to run. We're still not a quarterback design run football team. So we're not really calling plays for him to run. But if the opportunity presents itself like it did the other day when they're in man coverage, and man coverage, there's really nobody for the quarterback, he saw a crease and he ran and got the first down. So he ended up with, I think, 30-something yards rushing. And so that's encouraging because it allows us to keep plays alive, extend drives, if he can be a weapon with his legs to where, Jackson's quarterback, we kind of felt that he couldn't really get them out of trouble. And so if you know that you got a quarterback that's not mobile, it really opens up your blitz packages, your twist and stunt game up front, allows us to play a lot more man coverage than we normally may have would have. Like this weekend, you got to be really, really conscious of the quarterback because he's shown that he can be the threat running the football. He led their team in rushing. And so you got to account for him. So when you don't have a quarterback that can run, it really hinders you. But with Moose running, I think it's going to open up our offense even more. What do I think about Prime? Well, I guess with the job they did at against TCU. So, okay, well, the first question was what I think about Prime. I mean, of course, I was elated, about what they were able to do. I think it's great for him. I think it's great for us. I think it's great for HBCUs. The statement that Shedeur made after the game, I think spoke volumes. He said people get caught up in names and schools. So I just threw for the most yards I ever have in my life. And I played in HBCU the last 2 years. And so, and he spoke in another interview about just the difference in, Power 5 versus FCS and the differences. So I thought it was really good. I wasn't surprised. I knew, again, I witnessed Shedeur go 17-17 against us last year to start the game. I knew what kind of player Travis Hunter was coming out of high school. They have really good players on their offense. I knew that they'd be able to score points. Their challenge is going to be depth on defense, because you don't want to win every game in a shootout. But again, I wasn't surprised they were able to move the ball, and I think they'll be able to do that against really everybody they play. And so I wasn't surprised about that. And then the second question, would I have rather played Deion and Shedeur and Travis Hunter in the Classic this past weekend? Well, I'm right where we need to be. We're right where we need to be. I'm not saying the outcome would have been different, but we don't need to see. We want to know. So I don't care if it was the little Giants out there on Sunday. We
I knew they had thrown in the towel late in the fourth quarter when they kicked that field goal just to avoid a shutout. That was obvious. That was really interesting. I said, well, the game's over.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, nobody wants to be shut out. And so their decision to kick a field goal, I thought it was a smart one. You know, obviously you put points on the board, but it gives you some momentum. At least you say, okay, we've scored. You know, these guys aren't invincible. We scored against them, and so yeah, I mean, but like I said, I felt probably midway through the second quarter that offensively they didn't have an answer for our defense, and that's because of our defensive line play. I mean, you can scheme up, you can have the best schemes in the world. If you cannot block the person, it doesn't matter, and they couldn't block us. And so when our guys saw that early, I mean, they knew what type of game it was going to be. So yeah, but that was I've been on the other side of it. When you line up and you know you can't hold up front, because at that point, well, I mean, what works? It's like a great defensive basketball team with a bunch of rim protectors. Like, well, we know we can't go in the lane because they're gonna block every shot. So now we just got to shoot threes and hope they go in, right? And so it's a really demoralizing feeling when you know you can't block the guys in front of you. And we have a defensive line that's gonna make a lot of teams feel that way this year. Tommy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, well, and physically, like I said, we were up for the challenge. But, you know, when you got the guys we have up front, the transfer portal has been good to us. The nutritional program has been good to us. And then we have a really great offensive line coach that really gets those guys to play at a high level. So, you know, TJ Lee has lost probably 25 pounds since last season. You know, so he's much more athletic. He's much quicker. He's in much better shape, and he's already a mauler. Like but now he can maul for 4 quarters as opposed to last year. He would have to miss the second half a lot because of his ankle, because of the extra weight. He's gotten himself into playing shape. He looks great, and I mean, he's doing a great job. Like I said, Cardell he's a former 5-star offensive lineman. You know, Jalen Goss is a Power 5 transfer, you know, from across the street. Ashton Grable's a G5 transfer, you know, and Cam Cohen's a 5-year starter. And so you look at the backup, Cesar Reyes transfer from South Florida. So we got a lot of guys. Mike Marshall was a 3-star defensive tackle who we moved to offensive lineman. So he has that defensive lineman mentality playing on the offensive line. And so he was the one that he didn't get a penalty. I think they were about to throw it. And the Jackson player gave him a nice 2-piece. And he didn't do anything on the first 2. And after that third one, I was like, oh, Lord. Mike retaliated, and I had to go grab him. And so, but we have an offensive line that's just got a mentality. And, you know, when you listen to teams like Alabama and Georgia, when they talk about how they practice, when you say, and Shedeur said it in the game the other day, it's like, I throw against the best corner in America every day. I got to throw against Travis Hunter. So I know I can't miss even a little bit going against Travis Hunter. We're going up against the best defensive line that we're going to see all year, every day in practice. And so just the amount of physicality you got to have to even survive. If you come to one of our practices on a Tuesday and win full pads, I mean, it's a bloodbath. Like, those guys are getting after it. And that iron sharpens iron, so it's made us stronger on both sides of the ball. So, again, like I said, I'm excited about this team for a lot of reasons. But our level of play on the offensive and defensive line is what gets me fired up the most. Well, Marquise Bell was there. Marquise Bell showed up. He was at the hotel with the team. He was on the sideline. Xavier Smith and Isaiah Land couldn't make it. Obviously, Isaiah just signed on with the Colts, so he's probably up there learning that playbook, getting ready for game 1. And Xavier's all the way out in LA, so it was a little bit tougher for him to get back. But Bishop Bonnet was there. He was on the sideline. Great to see him. Rashawn McKay was on the sideline. Nadarius Fagan, our linebacker from last year, was on the sideline. So, we had a few guys that came there and supported the team, and that was just always great to see those former players come back. But I know Marquise was the only NFL player who was able to make it. Yes, ma'am.
Our nutrition program is truly working, I think, for our guys, because I noticed that the state players, like every other player, somebody would be dragged off the field. They were not conditioned. They appeared to be, Because everybody was getting hurt. I mean, every time they had a play, someone was getting hurt, as opposed to FAMU. We were strong enough to stay.
Yeah, well, nutrition plays a huge role in being able to sustain yourself. I don't want it to be overlooked at the fact that the way the stadium is configured at Miami Gardens, the home team has a phenomenal advantage. That other sideline is a cooker. I mean, we did it last year, so it's 20 degrees hotter on the north side of the stadium than it is on the south side. So where the home side is, you have shade, literal shade from the stadium. The way the sun sits at 3:00, it's beaming directly onto that sideline. So I think we are better conditioned, but again, NFL teams have to have a plan when they go down there and play the Dolphins, because it's a great home field advantage to have a stadium, and our stadium's like that. So if you happen to play a noon game, 2:00, 3:00 game in Bragg, the west side is 15 degrees cooler than the east side. And so there are multiple reasons why I moved the team from the east side to the west side. That was at the top of the list. We're not going to stand over there and have a disadvantage sweating while the other team is in the AC. And so, and wanted to have our team to the side of the press box, obviously. But yeah, it's when you have stadiums configured like that, it really, really makes it difficult for that team to sustain that heat for 3.5 hours. That sun is beaming directly on top of it, and ain't no you can't bring a BRZ into the stadium. That ain't gonna work. So, but no, I do think our team is pretty well conditioned, and that's a testament to Coach Forney, the job he does, and obviously the nutrition has really gone a long way and helped us. When you look at our team, we look. Jay Walker made a comment, about the size of our linemen, offensive linemen, and it's hard for him to compliment us on anything. And Tiffany holds it down. Tiffany holds it down every chance he gets. It burns him up. He got to talk good about us now. He can't say anything. So, all right. Last question.
Just a comment. We talked about our running back that came from Godby. I just wanted to let everybody know. I know you probably know it already, but Marcus Riley that ran that opening touchdown back in the Ricketts High School grad.
Yeah, well, so to that point, so of course, Marcus scored a touchdown from Rickards. Jacquez Yant scored a touchdown from Godby. Kamari Young had a big catch from Godby. Nick Dixon had a big catch from Godby. Javen Morgan was one of our leading tacklers from Florida High. Trey Wilhoit averaged 45 yards a punt from Childs. Mike Smith kicked off for us from McClay. So TJ Lee snaps the ball for us from Quincy. We have a ton of guys from the Tallahassee Big Bend area that are contributing on our team. We use two kickers. So Michael Smith, the high school kicker, has the bigger leg, so he's our kickoff guy and long field goal. Cameron Gillis, the transfer from Stetson, is our short field goal guy. So if it's a field goal less than 45 yards, Cameron will kick it. If it's a long field goal or kickoffs, Michael Smith handles it. Kickoffs, Mike Smith handles them. So the first one, again, kickers, the specialists are kind of different, right? They're a little different. Vaughn can tell you, they're just different. They just hang out by themselves. They are some unique individuals. Well, no, because the first he's right-footed. All our kickers are right-footed. So typically, like a golf swing, the ball is going to tilt a little bit left. So we want to try to condense the field. Instead of spreading the field out like Jackson State did and putting old school, having guys across the entire field, you see a lot of kickoff teams now, they line everybody up inside the hash. So you cut the field in a third, and you just got to cover 2/3 of it. So naturally, you want the ball to be kicked outside the numbers towards the sideline. The ball for a right foot kicker is going to tail to the left. Well, Mike decided at some point, which I didn't know until game day, that he wants to put the ball on the right hash and kick it right, which Vaughn can tell you that makes zero sense. So he kicks it off and the ball lands at the 10-yard line and they bring it out. So I went to him. Coach Gamble was going crazy. You got to deal with kickers a lot differently. So I said, Mike, it's like a golf swing, man. Just put the ball on the left hash and kick it deep left. And so he did that. The next one went 8 yards deeper to the end zone. And so they're different. So coach, and I've had to grow in that as well as a coach, because you don't know that when you first start coaching. And so the last one is, I'll just tell this quick story and then we'll go. So on one of the kickoffs, because the kickoff is an actual play, so the play clock runs. You get 25 seconds to get the kickoff. Well, Mike Smith as a kicker is sitting back and he's just pointing the east side. You ready? You ready? I mean, just back and forth. And it's like 6 seconds left on the clock. Coach Gamble is going crazy. So he finally kicks the ball off. And you got to understand the psyche of a kicker. You cannot jump the kicker. Like, you cannot jump him. He's done. Like, if you jump a kicker during the game, he is done. So coach is about to go. I can tell him out like, coach, no, I got him. I said, Mike, you look real good out there posing for the cameras, dog. You look real good. I mean, you were flashing. I said, but you realize that there's a clock running. Like, you can't, but you look really good doing it. I mean, it was funny. So, but I tell you what, man, they're a funny group to be around. Close knit group, but it's You love to see Musa running. You won't see Musa running behind two running backs. No. So, of course, and it's so it ain't ironic, but Ray and I had this conversation a couple of days ago. So having two running backs in the game at the same time, I think there's some advantages to doing so. But if you have a quarterback that it's a running threat as well, because now you get back more into like the wishbone, because basically now you got three backs back there and you can do a lot of stuff. Well, we're going to probably try to keep three receivers on the field as much as possible. So if you have three receivers and two running backs, you don't have any tight ends. Well, there's no protection outside the tackles. So everything at that point becomes a read play, which exposes your quarterback to running the football. And so if you're okay with your quarterback carrying it a bunch, then yes, put two backs back there, run all your read stuff and, create some mismatches. But for us, we prefer Jeremy focus on being a passer, run to get out of danger, and scramble. Not many called runs for the quarterback, and that's just not our philosophy offensively. And again, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just our personal philosophy. I think we're a better football team when he can sit in the pocket and make good decisions and throw accurate balls. I was a dual threat quarterback, but I wasn't a running quarterback. When you start, Woody Dantzler, who I played in front of, was a running quarterback. When you're carrying the ball 20, 25 times a game, that means you're getting hit 20 to 25 times a game. And you still got to make accurate throws in the fourth quarter. After you've been getting pounded on, Jacquez had 11 carries. Terrell Jennings had 11 carries. Kevin Dean had 9. Think about that if you're giving those carries to a quarterback and asking him to do that. So it's just philosophically, it's kind of it's what you believe in. So there are teams that do it, and they do a good job of it. But the teams that really do well, that quarterback is a running threat, and he's going to be able to carry the football for them. So we may have some two-back sets to do some things, but it won't be to run the quarterback. Just because I don't want Jeremy getting hit. He light skinned. Light skinned people don't like to get. All right. Any last questions online, Ron? All right. I know we've been here a good minute. So appreciate you guys as always. Look forward to seeing you down in Tampa. Stay off Ybor City. Go Rattlers.
Yeah. If I may have your attention, I just want to point out, Coach, all the way in the back there. Rudy Gibbons still here. Rudy is the man who paid for all the trophies for the team last year, and he played with Jay Gaither. He and I think the only two people here who played for Jay Gaither. But he's offered to do it again this year. Yeah. All right, people, same time, same place next week. My nephew. You're the password for the